Thursday night, March 26, 1959. Fog rolling thick off Charles Mill Lake. The kind of fog that swallows headlights whole. 3 boys, 14 and 16, park near the boathouse just to watch the fog roll in off the water. Something's out there, though. It's low to the ground. A log, maybe? But then it stands up. Looks about 7 feet tall. It's got no arms. 2 green glowing eyes, and it starts walking right for the car. These kids, they don't wait around to ask it what it is. They get the hell out of there. 14 years later, 1963, something else starts showing up in the exact same lake. But this one's bigger, hairier, maybe even 11 feet tall. 1,000 pounds, possibly? But these eyes, they don't glow green, they glow orange. No names this time, no newspaper reports, just some people talking about what they saw. 2 creatures, same Ohio lake, 60 years of stories that never quite stayed the same. Or made big headlines. Sightings that blended together, dates that get swapped. One legend quietly borrowing another's story. Tonight, we're going to pull them apart. Because it turns out that a story all on its own, what happens when a real event and a rumor share the same lake long enough that nobody, not even the people who wrote it down, could tell you for certain which monster they're actually talking about. Hey, I got a new one for you. Ever heard of the Charles Mill Lake Monster or Orange Eyes?
Orange Eyes, you mean the demon from Supernatural season 1?
Oh, nice.
Yellow. Sorry.
Yellow Eyes. Hey, I'm Ed.
And I'm Miguel.
And welcome to The Neighborly Unknown, the show where we discuss the unknown in a neighborly way. Won't you be our neighbor? So I mentioned there are 2 monsters and 1 lake. And this is kind of a dual episode, right? And a lot of other episodes, podcasts that talk about these creatures are dual episodes because these creatures kind of are connected, right? They're all at the same lake. Stories kind of intertwine a little bit. This one created its own challenges for me. I don't know about you. Pulling them apart, figuring out which one was actually which, and we'll get into that a little bit. But we'll start with the more important one, the one that actually has a legit storyline, the Charles Mill Lake Monster. Okay? Now, this one has some strange kind of stories with it, right? But the big story actually happened Thursday, March 26, 1959. It's important to note that because if you pull this up on the internet, it's going to say the 28th, right? Because that's when the newspaper article was actually published. This actually does have a legit newspaper article, and I'll get to that in a second. As I mentioned, this is a boathouse lane off of Old State Route 30 in the Richland, Ashland County area on Charles Mill Lake. It's actually a real lake in Ohio. Mm-hmm. They kind of, I think, flooded it out a long time ago. Yep. Army Corps of Engineers sort of thing, and built this recreation area and basically flooded it. You're aware of all this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm going to talk about this in a minute.
Okay, good. I can't wait. All right, cool. 3 young individuals. Michael, we have their names, right? Michael Lane, who's 14. Mm-hmm. He was there with Wayne Armstrong and Denny Patterson. Both of those guys were 16. And they were just kind of like hanging out, at nighttime or whatever by the lake.
Those guys.
Yeah. And they saw a a log. It would look like a log, kind of like
Yeah.
by the lake. But then it like got up and started walking towards them. And like I said, green eyes that were just like really bright. They couldn't miss them. But the weird thing is it's got webbed feet. They saw this thing. It had webbed feet, but it didn't have any arms, right? So it was kind of creepy. So they got out of there.
Platypus.
Yeah, sort of. 7 foot tall platypus. Yeah, in Ohio, right? So it's a little strange. So what's cool about this story, right? And I actually found the real newspaper article for this because when you pull up this story, both, and we'll talk about Orange Eyes in a second, both of them had the exact same origin story.
Yeah.
Orange Eyes, and we'll talk a little bit about that. It's a little different, but the story goes that these 3 boys saw this thing and they went home, and one of the boys told his dad, and his dad's like, dude, come on. How old do you think I am? Like, come on. I've been around the block, right? This is 1959. These guys know what the hell they're talking about. They're not going to be bamboozled by their boys, you know? So he goes, okay, I'll tell you what, we'll go back there the next day and we'll take a look. So they go back there literally the next day and they find tracks in the area. These guys, you know, where the thing was, like webbed feet tracks and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like you have a question already. Do you have a question?
Oh, no, I'm just thinking that in that same area, like 1959, that's a lot of stuff is going on in that area.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I mean, we're not going to bring this up right now. We will talk about it, not even in this episode, but for those of you who stick around, we'll have something special for you coming up.
Yeah.
But like 1959 is same year that some big events happen in Mansfield area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in 1959.
So they were on watch, you're saying. Like the dad was maybe like, he maybe took it a little bit more seriously than most parents would have, you know? But they go back and they find webbed feet or webbed prints, you know, in the sand or whatever.
Yeah.
So they go to the sheriff. They legit go to the sheriff and they were like, hey man, something going on. So the sheriffs go there and they investigate, which, you know, if you ever watch we've already talked about this. You ever watch any 80s movies where kids tell their parents, first of all, their parents never believe them. And then if the parents ever do believe them and someone goes to the police just laugh them off and they say, so don't you damn kids ever come back here again. I'm tired of your stupid stories. You know, that's every story. That didn't happen here. They took it seriously and they went back.
1959. I'd assume that they're probably more,
there's a little paranoia, maybe. Yeah. There's a little paranoia about this sort of stuff. So they go back and they conclude that they do see some tracks, but one of the police officers says it's one of those frogmen, you know, that came out.
Reappearance.
Yeah, not the kind that we're talking about, right? But the kind, you know, the divers for the military or whatever, you know, with his webbed feet or whatever. Couldn't explain the fact that the guy didn't have any arms, or whoever came out of the water with arms. Why the dude was
really tight wetsuit,
I guess, yeah, or maybe he just couldn't afford the arm part of it, you know, and just had him tucked in, you know, to his chest. Who knows? But the kids don't buy it. They're just like, no, we know what we saw. You guys, you stupid parents and you stupid adults, you just don't understand, you know, right? Oh, yeah. So that's cool. A little background. So I did find the real story in the newspaper, from the 50s. So the dates are a little wonky. This is already where it starts to get a little wonky, which is understandable because the story happened on Thursday and it didn't get published until Saturday's edition because there is some, you know, the parent went back on Friday and then they went to go talk to the cops and all that mess. So that's kind of where we're at with that one. It doesn't happen a lot with the story since the 1950 story until a guy named Loren Coleman, who published a book which I actually just bought. cryptozoology, so I'm gonna see where it comes in, and puts it in a book and starts kind of talking about it, and kind of shares the local news story. So like it's not a big deal, right, in that area, apparently, when this actually happens. And then it becomes a bigger deal in the 80s when people read this guy's book and are like, people who are into cryptids and stuff like that are like, oh, wow, there's a cryptid in Ohio that we didn't know about, right? So the book...
Oh, that we didn't know about. Okay.
Yeah, the book...
I was going to say, we've already talked about several of them.
Yes. This one, So cryptid crazy people kind of start catching on. All right. Questions about Charles Mill Lake monster. One big story here. That's kind of where we're at.
So he had green eyes.
Yeah, he had green eyes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a differentiation.
And 3 boys saw him.
Mm-hmm.
Police got involved. Parents got involved. And they determined that something was there. They didn't know what it was. So it's a legit newspaper story, Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, I know.
No, I'm just, didn't they, no, there was no actual report for the Frogman in Loveland, was there?
Well, the cops went, right, but they didn't make the papers because the cops tried to do a little cover-up action there. Yeah. No, I know. So this is in the paper. Yeah.
No, I was talking to the first one in the 50s, was it?
Yeah. That guy was in the paper. You're talking about the dude who saw the wand guy. Yeah, that was a paper thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So newspapers printing some crazy stuff.
I know it's hard to find. Customers. So let's talk about Orange Eyes a little bit.
Okay.
Orange Eyes. This is where it starts flying off the rails a little bit, right?
Okay.
1963, first acknowledged sightings, okay, by people. Okay. A guy named Loren Coleman wrote a book and said that he interviewed a bunch of people and they all said, oh, yeah, we know about Orange Eyes. Say it's 11 feet tall, about 1,000 pounds, hairy, ape-like, probably a cousin of Grassman, that just wanted to settle in the other part of the state. More, he probably likes lake stuff more than forest stuff. It's understandable, right? We all have people like that in our families who like the beach and some people who like suburbs and all that kind of. So I get it. The problem is there's no stories that are recorded. There's no people that are mentioned. There's no names. There's none of that stuff. It's basically just kind of a lot of hearsay and a lot of tales, and even when he wrote this kind of book, there's no real references to people's names that are mentioned in this. So I don't know how you could take it all that seriously. But we'll get to the story. The idea, the rumor is that there's a cemetery in Cleveland, and in the 40s, the crypt that apparently Orange Eyes was living in was destroyed, and the dude needed to find some new digs, so he went down to the lake, and then just kind of hung out there, right?
Yeah.
I guess no one saw the 11-foot, 1,000-pound creature for 20-something years, though, until the reports came around. But this is kind of just when Loren Coleman wrote about it, right?
Okay.
So the stories, I guess, could have been around for a while, and there's a lot of hearsay with these sort of things as well. So the Orange Eyes is basically orange eyes are appearing through certain the woods or around the water and things like that. So one's got orange eyes, one's got green eyes. Okay. We know for a fact that one is published in the newspaper.
Yeah.
And the other one is just kind of out there in stories. So
local folklore.
And you could see how these can kind of get intertwined aside from the fact that the eyes are different.
Yeah.
And the size of them. The dates all get mashed together, though. If you start researching this stuff online, you're going to find that people confuse the two creatures, and even some writers who do this sort of stuff confuse the stories. They combined the two creatures. So, which is a little strange, but it makes sense because it's on the same lake, right? Sort of,
Yeah.
but they're not all that alike, you know. So, what kind of questions you got for me on these creatures? I feel like you got some questions.
Well, it's really just trying to figure out how to separate them, because it sounds like they're very similar. Granted, one is supposed to be taller and
And
heavier,
hairier.
but like I don't know who's out there weighing monsters. Like,
I,
hey, can you come stand on the scale for me?
I know.
Um, I mean, I guess you can guesstimate from their size, but like,
I know. Yeah, the weight thing. Yeah, the boys never mentioned any weight. They didn't try to pick out the guy's weight, or whatever that came out of the water. No
he's
tracks.
competing for Mr. Cryptid America.
I guess. Yeah. 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 The stories they just kind of overlap a little bit, and people just kind of start to they just mesh together into almost like one sort of creature. The problem that I have is that with Orange Eyes, no one has actually said anything.
Yeah.
Like I don't who's saying this stuff. You know what I mean? Like we're just taking an author's word for it that people just say, that they saw this creature, or they've witnessed it, where, when, how, what did it do? There's a tremendous amount of hearsay in the stories. There's ones where, and this is getting to what I was talking about, is how they mesh together. The 1959 story, the one with the boys,
Yeah.
it's the same story for Orange Eyes. It's just two lovers, or I'm sorry, they're on Lover's Lane, and two high school kids who are kind of like making out or something, and they saw it come towards their car. There's nothing like that. There's no story like that. It's just they combined it, and it's the exact same day as the Charles Mill Lake Monster sighting with the three boys. So that someone took the story for Charles Mill Lake Monster and tried to make it Orange Eyes a little
Yeah.
bit. It's a little weird, right? So
Okay.
yeah,
So, yeah, give a little bit more credit to the teenagers.
the teenagers, yeah, those
Yeah.
boys, yeah, they stuck by their story though. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. The one kid got a really cool quote. He goes, "I don't believe it for 1 second. I know what I saw."
Yeah.
you know. So anyways, that's kind of these two monsters, right? Same lake, two different monsters that spread between 1959. The last sighting was 1991 for Orange Eyes. No one has seen the Charles Mill Lake Monster officially since 1959. Everything transitioned to Orange Eyes after that.
Well,
1991, two guys were fishing. Again, no names, no report. Someone just said that they saw some orange eyes in the water. So that's where we're at with these things. No one's been attacked, beat up, thrown in the water, strangled.
well, that's
No
good.
scratches on cars like melon heads or any of that
Okay.
weird stuff. Yeah.
Oh, and no scratches on the was a guard post or whatever for
Oh yeah,
front
yeah. The
man.
rail, yeah. The
Yeah.
the guardrail, yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Dogman didn't do anything either. He just
No,
kind
I
of
know.
flung back.
Well, he hit a guy with a 2x4, right?
No, I don't remember that one.
Yeah, the rail guy. Hit him in the
Oh, right. I
head.
remember.
The jeans. Yeah.
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 Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. But he was
That guy was
fine.
smoking some of
He was fine, I know.
that.
So you got some good stuff for
Oh yeah.
local stories.
And I do have to preface this for our watchers, our listeners there, is before we talk about more like Orange Eyes or the Mill Monster, what they could be. So we need to understand the place where the legend was born. So with this disclaimer, I just let you know I have been steeped in 19th century Ohio. Recently, I've been really deep diving into my genealogy. Found out that I'm related to people that I can't find any records on in the 19th century. So I now know quite a bit of 19th century Ohio. So, by the War of 1812, This region was already caught in a decades-long struggle over land. Native nations, including the Shawnee, Delaware, the Lenape, and others, had watched settlers move into the Ohio country despite earlier treaties and promises. And at the same time, British forces were encouraging the natives to resist as part of the wider conflict with the War of 1812. The result was a brutal frontier war in which civilians on all sides became victims. Years later, a man named J. Charles would leave his mark on the area by building a sawmill and a grist mill along the Black Fork of the Mohican River. Though neither mill survives today, they gave the area the Charles Mill name that remains.
But the lake wasn't there yet, right? It was
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
And
I was curious about that.
Just about to talk
Oh,
about
sorry, go ahead, man.
the landscape would change again in the 20th century because Black Fork was prone to flooding. In fact, it was so prone to fluctuations that it was basically they hired the Army Corps of Engineers to come in and be like, hey, you guys need to build a dam here because either we have no water, or we have too much water. So something.
Yeah.
So they built a dam there because the Black Fork was prone to flooding. The dam was constructed to help control the river. This created the man-made Charles Mill Lake. And once again, the land was transformed this time by engineering rather than industry. And normally this is where we would dive into the folklore of wild men and Sasquatch and stuff like that because ultimately that's where many of the accounts fall down on. And we're not that kind of podcast. We've already talked about those things because if you have listened to our first episode ever on Grassman, that's what we did. And so this is different because rather than repeat that discussion, I want to focus on something different. The story of this place. Because sometimes the most interesting part of a legend isn't the monster itself, it's the landscape that gave the monster a home. It's the people who make up the area, those teenagers. And notice that almost all of our Ohio stories here have started on a dark road.
Yeah, right.
Headlights.
Yeah. There's some water, maybe.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, the headlights
Except
in the
for
dark road.
Bessie.
Yeah.
Bessie was 18th century.
Yeah.
Two guys.
Yeah, right.
Lake Erie. So, but one of the most interesting things is that just a few miles away stands one of the most infamous prisons in America, the Mansfield State Reformatory.
Yeah, which is, by the way, I don't want to derail this too much, is awesome. I don't know if you've ever been there before for a tour. Have you been?
No.
Oh man, it's worth it. Mm-hmm. It is scary as shit. I mean, it is crazy. It's, you could tour it now, and that's the Shawshank Redemption prison. That's where they filmed Shawshank Redemption. It's intense. Not that I tour a lot of prisons, but like it's crazy. Yeah. So go ahead.
Well, one of the great things about it, it's got those towering Gothic walls, and they've become synonymous with ghost stories.
Yeah.
With paranormal investigations, tales of restless spirits, and we'll save those stories for our very first brand new bonus episode coming up next week after this one gets published here. It's our very first backyard ghost stories. So stick around.
Yeah, we're going to mix in some ghost tales too, because apparently Ohio has even more ghost stories than we do cryptids. Yeah. Which is hilarious. Yeah.
But we've talked about before how places that experience industrial decline often become fertile ground for cryptid stories, especially with the Loveland Frogman, especially with Melon Heads, and with Dogman. We kind of got into that, the liminal spaces of railway.
Yeah.
The guy was hit by a 2x4.
Yeah.
And completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
But why do you think that abandoned or forgotten places seem to attract these legends?
Yeah, I think if we're talking about those sorts of places, they have a lot of history, right?
Yeah.
And there's already a mystery to them because a lot of people who, like, when I approach a place that is abandoned, I automatically start creating kind of like stories in my head about what I think might have happened there or what was there. And I think that it just fills in the gaps. Like you're filling in the gaps with these sort of like monsters or stories or whatever, and it's an easy fit. It's an easy fit to be like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. Look at how creepy this is, because you're seeing it already abandoned and in ruins. You're not seeing it in its perfect and nice state, where probably nothing really bad happened, but when you see some terrible, an abandoned building, you're like, oh, clearly a monster went in there and murdered everybody. That's the only logical explanation, not just that the business closed down or whatever. So, but that's just kind of my thing. That's how my mind works. I start to think about like the stories of the people who were there and things like that. And because you don't have the old man who owned it say like, no, nothing was there. You just start building on those stories. You know what I'm saying? Kind of.
Yeah. And I do kind of feel like when one industry kind of shuts down, like the sawmill or the grist mill shut down, you have a lot of people who are out of jobs at that point. Like you've got a lot of people who are like, they've got time on their hands. But it's not like there wasn't other industry in the area, because Mansfield at that time, 1862, they build a camp for training Civil War soldiers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And so right after that closed up, near the end of the Civil War, that's when they decided to start building the Mansfield, Ohio State Reformatory.
The prison, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and I won't get too far into that because I'll save that for our ghost story. But you still do have people there that maybe like they're farmers, and that's where they took their grain, was to the grist mill. By the way, I had no idea what a grist mill was until this story.
Oh, really? Yeah, I don't.
Oh,
I don't have a farmer.
Your grain. Oh. They mill it into flour.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So, and the sawmill is obviously what it sounds like. They saw wood into lumber. So.
Right. Gotcha.
But it's all like water powered, and so that's one of the big problems was the flooding, because either there was the Black Fork section of the Mohican River there was either going to be like flooding the whole mill, or it wasn't going to be running the mill at all because there wasn't enough water.
So it was like a necessity thing that they flooded it?
Kind of
I thought they just did it because they wanted like a recreation lake for people to like take their boats and jet skis and stuff. Not jet skis in the 1900s. You know what I mean, though? Fishing and
the early 20s.
Yeah. Right.
And it's more that because they moved the sawmill. Okay. Because they decided like we can't rely on the Black Fork. They're going to build the dam, so we're going to use electricity.
Okay.
And so they moved it like down the road. Like a few miles, but essentially it was still there.
Yeah.
And then it burned down in the 1950s. And so like that could have led to some of this here, was that the mill's gone all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So of course we're going to go back to the original place of the mill, where Charles Mill Lake is.
Yeah, cool.
So
cool.
I don't know. Those are just, my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
So do you think that Orange Eyes and the Mill Monster have become well known enough to create a tourism effect? Or has Mansfield State Reformatory, with its history and connection to the Shawshank Redemption, become the dominant attraction in the region?
Yeah. Orange Eyes and the Mill Monster, no, there's no way. Like there's almost like, I think I even tried to look this up. There's just like, there's no real pride for that area about these monsters. They just don't really pay attention to them, that much. Not like Frogman, which they have, parades and festivals and all that stuff. Like they really embrace it. These creatures are not like that. They're kind of more of like, I guess that story existed, and and even when it happened, like I said, like in the 50s, it took until in 1984 someone to write a book about it for people to even start paying attention to it. But the reformatory, that's legit, right?
Yeah.
Because Shawshank Redemption, it's probably one of my favorite movies. Like I love it's so brilliant, and I know you're probably going to say I didn't read the book, but I'll put it on my list, right?
I haven't read the book either.
Oh, okay, good. Because I feel those, you didn't read it, judging eyes already cascading over here. But it's such a great film, and when and they do all kinds of tours and stuff there, right? And when you see that place, you're just like, what the, oh my God. Like, it's scary. Like, it's kind of and I know they didn't, like, apparently the architect didn't mean it to be that way. It meant it to be like kind of, that's why they call it a reformatory, is to make you feel like you want to leave that place. It makes me feel like I never want to be there in the first place. Even when I was in there, I was kind of freaked out. But when we went there, it was packed full of people, and it was a weekend. It was a summer weekend a couple years ago, but it was totally packed full of people, and they had all kinds of different tours that you can go and see. But I feel like if you go to Charles Mill Lake and you start asking around, maybe some people will know about the monsters, but there's no signs, there's no mascots, there's no stickers. I haven't been there, right? But that's just kind of what I gathered when I looked this up. Because even finding out about the stories was challenging. Mm-hmm. And if it was legit for that area, I feel like there would be more people paying attention to the fact that dates were just crisscrossed all over the place, all over the internet. So, but that's a great question. Yeah, I like that. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the same. Like I had no idea about Orange Eyes until I was in Salem and sent you the
yeah, right. Yeah, the book,
the chapter breakdown for the book.
Yeah.
Found a book in Salem in one of the shops. There was cryptids for every state, and sent him a photo of it. And
did you buy the book?
I did not buy the book.
You didn't buy the book.
No, instead I bought one about the ghost stories of Massachusetts.
Oh, how big is that book?
No, it's actually pretty thin, but
really?
No, it's I like those books because I like hearing about those local things, and it's primarily the reason why I like doing the show is because I like asking that question: is why do we tell these stories instead of is it real or anything else like that? I don't care if it's real.
Yeah.
I care if why are we telling this story? What does it say about us as humans?
Yeah.
And that's ultimately where I come down to on that with these guys, is that they're not bringing tourists in, so there's no real reason to be telling the story. And since they haven't been cited since the 92, there's still no reason to be telling the story.
No.
And so I think it's just speaking of the time there.
Yeah.
The time when the mill burnt down, and shortly after, and we'll talk about it in the Ghost Stories episode about what is happening in 1959. But in Mansfield, there's a lot of other stuff going on, and so people were unsettled. They had to tell something. They had to fill in the blanks, as you said.
Sure.
And I think that's probably why.
Yeah.
It was told.
Yeah.
So when we look at Charles Mill, we see layers of history. We've got native conflict, we've got early industry, environmental changes, and now folklore. So how do those layers shape the stories communities tell about a place?
Yeah. I mean, that one's challenging for this area because I don't know it that well,
And those of you who are Ohio geography challenged there, Mansfield and Cleveland are almost an hour apart. So, we're not super familiar with Mansfield.
Yeah.
It's...
I've been to the prison, I've been to the town, but I haven't spent a whole lot of time there. I don't know. I think it goes a little bit to the maybe a little like you're talking about, the region was changing in the 50s and stuff
Mhm.
like that in the 70s. We've already talked about that a lot and almost ad nauseum with the other stories, because all these stories seem to be around the same time,
Yeah.
all the 50s and 70s stories. So I think people are just trying to cling to something, like you said, like it's changing times. It's easy to see these things and for them to take off. This one never took off though, right? So it just kind of stayed on that little newspaper clipping, and
Mhm.
no one grabbed onto it for a long time. So uh,
Except for podcasters and
podcasters, yeah, and
21st
writers,
century.
yeah, right, yeah, yeah. Uh, I don't know. I do think that there is something, and I guess we're transitioning a little bit, but I do think there's something that moves the Charles Mill Monster a little bit, and this is probably a little bit of an explanation as to why the Orange Eyes existed.
Yeah.
Is Charles Mill Monster, his kids weren't doing anything wrong. They were just kind of like watching fog on a lake or whatever, because it's the
Yeah.
50s. I mean, what the hell are you doing? So I'm surprised they even had really a car, but,
Yeah.
I guess, that's how things were. But the story for the Orange Eyes transitioned to two teenagers trying to make out by a lake, and then a creature comes out and grabs them. And we've already kind of talked about this. It's like, don't be doing things on dark roads that you shouldn't be doing, and weary, like, oh, don't go out there, So I think I have a feeling that the story kind of transitioned from something real to something more of a warning for teenagers, parents telling kids don't do bad stuff, when you're growing up. Um, I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, and I think that, yeah, because I think that in 20th century and into the 21st century now, teenagers have become the keepers of folklore.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, all of the influencers and hate that term, influencers and creators and stuff, they're all like the biggest ones are mostly younger people.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And so they're the ones that people trust with stories now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not going to go to the mainstream media like for many things. You're not going to be going for
No.
like what are people saying on TikTok? What are people saying
Yeah.
on Reels?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Dating myself as a millennial here.
No, you're
What are
right.
people saying on Reels?
No. Yeah. Yeah. I don't do reels. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. That's cool. And this does play into the Cold War stuff too, a little bit, the 50s, moving into the 60s, paranoia a little bit about certain monsters, especially when the cop was like, oh, it's a frogman. I mean, that's straight out of like military Cold War sort of stuff. There's the other angle that we didn't talk about, right? The UFO angle. A little bit.
Yeah. Tell that story.
Yeah,
so
this one's good. I gotta maybe like pull up my phone a little bit, because this one's cool. So 1973, this is a legit thing. It's called the Coin Incident of October 18th, 1973. It was an Army Reserve helicopter pilot who was flying around that area, the lake. He was flying over the lake. At this time, it was kind of nighttime when he spotted a light in the sky, right? It was a green beam, okay, that basically shone up from an object, passed over the nose of the helicopter and the windshield. This dude's reporting this thing, right? Or seeing this thing as it comes over. He said it rose about 1,000 feet for 10 seconds. And then he basically got the hell out of there. And his compass was totally broken, apparently, after this incident. And he went back to his base and started telling people. This was in the newspapers. Other people on the ground saw this as well. So, like, this was corroborated by other individuals as well. Exact same lake. That two apparent monsters, and you got a prison with all kinds of weird shit going on, because prisons always have weird shit, especially Gothic style or whatever it is, prisons. But this is a real thing. This lake has, and like you mentioned, a hub for War of 1812 stuff, regional kind of unrest that dates way back, but that whole part of the state is kind of like that because I think we talked about that in one of the last episodes where it's kind of borderline frontier.
Oh, yeah.
And then once the wars were over is when the expansion just like took off and just never stopped basically until we reached the ocean. But
let me tell you, the 19th century, like people flooded Ohio.
Really?
Like you look at the difference between the censuses. There was a census in 1840. Like there's not a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
Like you can go through, like it's going to be a couple of pages.
Yeah.
But 1950, 1960, like it's incrementally increasing. Like you got maybe like 100 pages, like for the first census for a town or the county.
Yeah.
1950 or 1850, you've got maybe like 200, 300 pages.
Oh, wow.
Then in 1860, you suddenly got over 1,000 pages for a county. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's insane. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
Like it is going to.
I mean, that's kind of when my family started coming around. Well, I had other family here, but in that time. So, but yeah, the dates don't line up, right? The 70s and the 50s, I get that, but there is, it feeds into it a little bit with the little bit of the Cold War paranoia, UFO stuff, and me, I kind of like the UFO shit a little bit. So, the competing interests of this story, right? I mean, it could be anything, right? I mean, I saw something that it was some hobo, or I shouldn't say hobo, right? Is that a bad word to use? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know, because like
we could cut that if it's bad enough.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Like it's an outdated term now. I think like we were just watching E.T. with the kids,
and they said
like
that
a few nights ago, and they say. Because one of the kids is dressed as a hobo.
Oh yeah! What movie was that?
That's E.T.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know. The kids kind of knew what it was, so I'm like,
well, maybe
it's gonna explain it.
All right, we'll say, how about financially challenged individual without a home?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. That's probably more, accepted now. Was taking reflectors from bicycles and waving them around at people and stuff like that to be orange eyes when the lights shined on them. Again, no reports of anybody doing this. Nothing was found. No arrests. No, like, it's weird. I know that's
he'd
just
have to hold very still with his arms like right.
I know.
Where his
I know. And what is he doing? Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, if you see something like that, you're calling somebody, and they're going to come and find whatever's going on if it's just some dude hanging out in a tunnel. The frogman thing was just some guy scuba diving, maybe, I guess. I don't know what you're scuba diving in a lake for it in the middle of the night. And I don't know who has a full set of scuba diving gear like that in the 1950s. Yeah, whatever.
The Steve.
Yeah. I do believe the kids saw something, I like, it seems too legit for them to see something and get reported in the paper and then them go there and actually find like tracks in the sand. But there could be a whole bunch of different things going on here. The Orange Eyes one, I'm a little bit more on that side of the competing interest because this story took off after Charles Mill Lake Monster when people started writing about it, and there's almost like you can't trace any of it back to anything.
Yeah.
Like, so it's just kind of like, what the heck,
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Who knows with that sort of stuff, but, they're cool stories though. I do like these ones, that are kind of like this. I wish there was a little bit more on Orange Eyes to go on, to, just a few people that wrote down and were recorded from something and they had a name that said, yeah, I saw it, or I saw this thing or it came after me. Which makes me think that they really are just kind of potentially one story.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain the eye differences, of green glowing eyes and then orange glowing eyes.
I don't know. It kind of sounds like a writer embellishing it. Like
Could be.
if it's like the same night, kind of same story, except we're gonna change up the pairing of the teenagers there.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you're just making it a better story to
Yeah.
tell books instead of newspapers.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yeah, and yeah, I didn't want to like dog anybody on their writing, so I'm not going to name any people, but there were some individuals who wrote books and definitely played into that a little bit more than they probably should have. Apparently, I didn't read the books, but I read snippets of some stuff, and I'm just like, this is too far. This is too far. Like, you're taking it a little too far here. You know what I mean?
yeah.
To try to, create the stories, with this stuff. So, but they're cool, and I definitely think that there is an angle with the parents maybe warning their kids that there's a monster by the lake. Don't go down. I think they called it Lover's Lane or something like that. Don't go down Lover's Lane. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
If you're a parent, you're going to tell your kids don't go down there. There's a monster with orange eyes. So we got 3 boys, foggy shoreline, and something that stood out of the water. That's where the story starts, right? By the time you follow it all the way through until the 1990s story, it turns into different stories with 2 big monsters and a giant lake. The mill monster stayed real because of the boys' names and the sheriff's deputies and the Saturday newspaper that's clear as print. Orange Eyes never really had any of that at all. It grew from more word of mouth, borrowing a date or a few dates, a few witness accounts, and a green beam from the sky, possibly, that happened 14 years later that maybe threw a little bit more into the story that needed to be thrown in there. But I love a good UFO story. It's not a coincidence. Maybe the lake that already had a true monster story just kept attracting more monsters, real and possibly imagined, aquatic and even in the sky. Because one place is known for the unexplainable, everything unexplainable starts finding its way there.
Yeah.
So which one is actually the real monster? It's probably not the right question to ask. Maybe what's more interesting is how much of what haunts this place is actually the thing itself, and how much do we actually want it to be haunted? Charles Mill Lake is still there. Still fogs over some nights. Nobody's rushing to prove or disprove anything. Like I said, there's no festivals. There's no stickers that you can buy or t-shirts or hats or anybody trying to make it the state official cryptid. People are still renting kayaks and taking their kids out on the lake, and nobody's reported anything in quite some time. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's all we get. Maybe there's no monster caught or a mystery solved or any of that stuff. Like I said, we don't really care too much about that. Or maybe the story just was in 1959 and people have been trying to relive it in numerous accounts. Charles Mill Monster and Orange Eyes. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks for being our neighbor.